everyone, welcome back to a session of Dreamtime with Danielle, very special edition. We have with us a dream sent in from a viewer. Thank you, viewer. I'm going to share this dream. It is a recurring nightmare, something we have not covered. I'm very excited. Let's just dive into it. As stated in my comment, I have had this recurring nightmare my entire life. The people, places, and occurrences change, but the theme is always the same. I'm on my way to do, get, or accomplish something of importance and urgency, and for whatever reason, it is preferable that I accomplish the task by myself and without calling attention to myself. What exactly it is that is important or urgent is never clear and never revealed. The entire dream, I am filled with anxiety, and I'm in a hurry. I am usually either slightly unkempt looking or look a complete mess. I'm always blocked by people, events, and even inanimate objects. The people are either people I know, faces are never clear, or strangers, and they are always extremely irritating in general. And because they are stopping me, slowing me down, or forcing me to take a new path that is much farther away from my important, urgent goal. The people are also always very rude, ignorant, very draining, and enjoy humiliating me by telling infinite groups of other ignorant people to watch me, which they do, and also surround me, standing too close or touching me. I break free and run. I am just getting back to my goal when I happen upon another group of the same or very similar people. They will force an absurd and meaningless situation unto me that takes what may be months or years to fix. I fix it and move on, again stopped by total idiots that won't stop following me, and some will bluntly inform me that they are never going to let me go. Other things that will slow me down or stop me in the nightmare are ridiculous things like a mountain of broken bikes that I have to somehow get through by walking, and I'm scratched, cut, I fall numerous times, and finally get through, bloody and clothes completely torn, only to come upon yet another unbelievably irritating and exhausting feat. Always with the same awful people draining me and pulling me down. The general feeling throughout this recurring nightmare is that I want all of these stupid, horrible, leech-like people with their petty problems and all of their meaningless clutter out of my way, and I keep stepping right back into it no matter what I do or what path I take. I have been told I scream, either a high-pitched, blood-curdling scream or a low, deep, man-like scream in my sleep. But I don't recall what I was dreaming about when that happens. But I always remember this particular nightmare. I can tell that it is a reflection of the frustrations I feel and have felt in my life. There are obvious symbols of that. Even as a child, I recall feeling that some adults I had to mind for whatever reason were complete morons and queried whether it was wrong to feel that way about my elders. But now, as I look back, I was right. They were idiots. At least as an adult, I can feel solid about my opinions and not be confused about how I should think or feel about an individual or a topic, etc. Of course, as adults, we still have to deal with irritating, petty people, but we do not have to put our sanity and well-being into the hands of incompetent, idiotic people that children are sometimes forced to. As stated above, I do see some reasons why I have this nightmare. I would love for you to even just read this. And if you have any thoughts or comments that you would share, that would be fantastic. Thank you so very much for your time and attention, and please stay safe, dear. Well, thank you for sending this in, Colleen. I appreciate you reaching out, and I do have thoughts that I'm willing to share. But first, disclaimer. These are my interpretations of the symbols of your dream. These are my interpretations. Therefore, if they do not resonate, if they don't feel like that's what this dream is about, let them go. Dismiss them. Don't think about it for a minute. I'm offering options, not the only meaning that they could have. Ultimately, only you will know. That being said, let's do this. We have themes, all right? First of all, this is a recurring dream. A recurring dream, for those of you that don't know, is a dream that repeats often the very same way, if not the same, similar enough that you recognize the circumstances, the emotions, and the setbacks. Now, recurring dreams, for this reason, often have to do with our life purpose, and that's because this specific dream has a message for you, specifically you, the dreamer. And until that message is interpreted, understood, and taken action upon, this dream will return, because the dream is the messenger. It's like someone knocking on your door going, "Hello, I have a delivery. Will you sign for these?" Now, this is a nightmare, so maybe it's a little less sweet and a bit more, "Let me in." But nightmares are very important, and this is why. When we're having a nightmare, our strongest emotions are being reflected back to us. But they're being reflected back to us through symbols and through circumstances that we may not find ourselves in anymore. But that emotionally, mentally, spiritually, we have become stuck somewhere in ourselves. Or there is a fragment of ourselves that we left behind. We dissociate in times of trauma. This is a human thing. This is not a select person thing. Everyone does it at some point in their life. So, let's take a look with a microscope at these symbols in this recurring dream to see if we can suss out what it is your recurring dream wants you to know. So, you have a need to do something urgent. Bold, underline, highlight. Life purpose. Our life purpose may not be clear. Our life purpose may not be consistent. We may have multiple life purposes to do while we're here in these human forms. Figuring out what the purpose is at what point in our life is definitely part of the mission. But when you have this urgency, I'm going to ask you as a person, you can answer it for the dream as well, but as a person, what drives you? What is the urgency in your life? Do you feel urgency in your waking life? You may not, but in your dreams you do. And therefore that urgency is somewhere inside, and it's asking you to recognize it and to identify it. Another repeating theme are these idiots, these morons, these leech-like people who are draining you of your energy. We would call them energy vampires. An energy vampire is a person who sucks your energy just by being in the same space with them. Maybe it's through physical contact. Maybe it's through dialogue or conversation. But some people, for reasons of their own, do drain energy. And it is important to recognize that, because when we recognize it, we can change the situation, remove our presence, or limit our exposure to them if we can't remove them altogether. So identifying who these people are, and I suspect that these people, though faceless in your dream, are specific people in your life, and probably specific people who helped raise you, since this has been a recurring dream since childhood. And that also ties into these next three things, which is your appearance, unkempt or messy. Our appearance represents what we show up as. How are we showing up to the world? So if you're showing up as messy or unkempt, there is something that's not being taken care of. There are needs that are not being met, especially because this is a dream and you could have shown up in any specific way, but it's always unkempt. That means the ability to groom yourself, to take care of yourself. Why am I quoting and unquoting? It's real. Is there, as well as a need that has to be met. Feeling like you can't take care of yourself, again, makes sense if this started in childhood. And even though we are adults now, those childhood aspects still live within us. So doing inner child work, big suggestion. Information down below. Secrecy, the need to remain unnoticed or unseen. The only reason we need to move around in secrecy is to avoid danger or detection from someone who is dangerous. So there's a feeling of danger, which is obvious, but it's being embellished by these additional layers. So the people themselves are dangerous. The circumstances are dangerous. Your appearance, unkempt or dirty, is saying that I'm not being taken care of and I'm surviving circumstances that are leaving their imprint on me. Especially later on in the dream when physically you become ripped clothing and bloody, but we'll get to that. Okay. So the fact that you are showing up unkempt with cuts and bruises is saying there's some emotion that is cut up, it's bruised, there's something sore within you. It could be anger and resentment that is so subconscious you don't even know it's there anymore, but it is. It's there. So being unseen means that you can move around safely to accomplish your quest, but it also means that there is some type of answer that can only come from you, because you're the only one who can ever do this thing, whatever the thing may be. Okay, then we have being watched. Spooky, creepy. Being watched gives us this feeling of being hunted. Something is out there. So feeling threatened, feeling on edge, knowing that you're being pursued. It's a very ancient feeling, actually. Our ancestors, the cavemen and women from whom we are descended, definitely knew that feeling of being watched. So this is a primordial emotion. This is something we can be aware of before we're even aware that we have awareness. Babies feel watched because they are being watched by all the adults going, oh my God, so cute, congratulations. The baby doesn't know what we're talking about. They don't know that we're cooing over them. And maybe some of the adults aren't. We don't know who you were surrounded by. It does sound like you were surrounded by less savory people. So it leaves us feeling guarded or vulnerable. That feeling of being surrounded ties right in to that feeling of needing to escape or get away, run away, which shows up a lot in the dream, and a need to break away from prying eyes. Why do I keep on quoting what I mean what I say? Prying eyes. All right, then we have annoyance, irritation, abrasion. There's a constant irritation. These people are irritating you. They're just getting on your nerves. They're annoying and they're causing you problems. So when I think of irritation and irritants, I actually think of pearls, and I'm going to tell you why. Or maybe you know already. Let's tell the rest of the gang. A pearl forms when an irritant enters a clam's shell. And so to soothe that irritant, an irritant is something that scratches uncomfortably or painfully. To soothe that irritant, a pearl will coat the irritant in a calcium deposit that over time creates a beautiful pearl. And so something beautiful is born from the irritation. Now, the reason I say that is these constant irritations aren't showing up for no reason. This constant irritation is one of the sources of your answers. So this is for you. This is homework for you. Think about just the first thing when I say what irritates you the most. Immediately, you'll get a sensation, maybe an image, as the answer arises to you. That answer, whatever comes up first, whatever it is, even if your mental mind dismisses it, write it down and look at it. Look at it in ways, why would this annoy me? Why does this annoy me? How can I coat this in a calcium deposit and create a pearl? Let me make sure that is calcium deposits. How are pearls formed? It's layers of nacre, not layers of calcium. What the heck is nacre? A discussion for another time. Moving on. The point is that whoever these people are, whoever your irritants are, your annoyances, there is a clue. There is a clue to find your pearls of wisdom, especially within this dream. So again, I ask you, what are the irritants in your life? Is it being distracted, as constantly happens in your nightmare? Is it the problems that people are creating for you that is your irritant? Do those problems have anything in common? You want to start looking for patterns in your waking life because patterns are showing up in your dream life. And remember, ask yourself chronically, ask yourself all the time, what can I do to soothe the irritations in my life? How can I create my pearl? And that brings us back to running away. Running away, escape, seeking safety or sanctuary. We only ever run away from something that either feels harmful or is life-threatening. In this whole dream, you're running away. You're running away from people who are hurting you, people who are abusing you verbally, threatening you, and humiliating you. Threats, humiliations, taunts, all of this is abuse. This is mental abuse. This is a very difficult part of growing up human because so many people in the past failed to recognize that this verbal assault is damaging. It's emotionally damaging. It damages our connections with each other. And especially if this is coming from a person in your life who wielded a lot of power over you. So if this was a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or uncle, some primary guardian could really leave deep, long-lasting wounds. My heart goes out to you. My heart goes out to everyone. There is no one alive who has not experienced some type of verbal assault. It's all too common. People still don't recognize it for the weapon that it actually is. My real question would be, can you identify who this person is? Is it just one? And are they still in your life? If this person is still in your life, it's for a reason. But if these emotions are still being caused by that person, it's for a bigger reason, and that is what is calling your attention. A lot of this is going to be inner child work and shadow work, which is intentionally seeking out what we have suppressed. We don't remember because at some point in our life, we decided it was safer not to remember anymore. This can be challenging. This can require many sit-downs. But since this is a dream that recurs for you anyway, I encourage you, whenever it does, to sit down with it. New homework. Every time the nightmare shows up, you show up for the nightmare, which sounds counterintuitive. We're taught to leave things behind, to let it drain away, especially since I'm sure you are exhausted from having this dream. You are exhausted from constantly having anxiety attacks and the need to escape, and harrowing events occur night after night after night. Anyone would. So showing up for it, what does that mean? Journal it on purpose. Maybe writing to your dream as though your dream is a person. Hello, dream, I had you again. What do you want me to know? All of these writing prompts may sound silly, but they are helpful when you put them into practice, because when you ask the question, you give room for the answer to show up. So you can also make it a writing practice to respond back to yourself. Hello, dream, I had you again. Answer, why, yes, you did. I have a message for you. Response. Go back and forth like that. See what comes up. I'm genuinely curious if you do decide to make these practices. Definitely come back. Let us know in the comment section down below if anything new came up or if you discovered another meaning behind one of the recurring dream symbols. Fixing things. I have a lot of thoughts about this. My first thought is that this is where self-worth comes from. The ability to fix things is a skill, and it also is of value. So this is you become valuable to these people, and you already have value that these people are trying to take by you fixing things. When we're children, we often think we have to fix the relationships of people around us. When we grow up, we become aware that we influence the circumstances around our lives. And so how we use our influence is very telling. And it feels like you used your influence to repair situations, damage control, as it were. This could have been damage control for arguments, verbal arguments. This could have been physically repairing something like a broken lock or a broken sink. Is this a skill that you have in waking life? Do you have a knack for fixing things? That would be so interesting. This could be very literal. This could also be a key to what your life purpose is trying to tell you. You have answers, even if you aren't aware that those answers are part of you. you have specific skills and talents that only you can wield in this very specific way. And it has to come from you. And probably these irritants and these annoying people are going to keep showing up because they are actually putting you on a path that you are meant to fix. Again with the air quotes. Then we move on to delays. Delays are things beyond your control. Delays imply things are not going according to plan, which means there was a plan, and that means that it was interrupted. So we have this layering of interruptions happening physically, happening symbolically. Whenever some of these annoying people come up, they create problems and delays. To me, when things are outside of your control, it's really emphasizing divine timing. Now, I don't know how that resonates with you. I don't know if that's something you believe in or not, but it does mean right place, right time. And when things are not the right place, right time, which unfortunately is outside of our knowing a lot of the time, which is irritating, things just won't line up. They just won't work out because it's not the right time yet, even if we don't know that. We are still acquiring skills. We are still making the connections that we need to make so that one day those skills and those connections and those actions towards whatever path we decide to follow fall into place. And then suddenly it's like we're moving with ease, which is of course the opposite of a delay. Gaps can also include pockets of time in your life. For example, it might not be the right time when you're in kindergarten, or when you're in high school, or when you complete your doctorate. I don't know. But different stages in our life bring us different goals, different skills, and different people. So these delays could have everything to do with certain stages in your life and where you're headed. No pressure or anything. And then we follow that up with forced re-navigation. These obstacles show up, you are forced to stop and turn around and head in a totally different direction. So this is forced re-navigation. There are forces beyond your control that are actually bumping you into different timelines, different circumstances. And that is really interesting. So as I mentioned, divine timing comes into play here again. When you've learned all you can from one place or one person, sometimes the only way out is the way you came in. Sometimes you have to actually create a whole new escape, a whole new exit plan. But either way, there is this need to move on. And it is a need because it's happening. You aren't changing paths because you want to change paths. The paths are physically telling you you can go no further there. You must try another way. Ultimately, only you can find the best path that is for you. Which of course brings us to other people's problems. And I highly suspect whatever your life purpose may be, it truly includes other people's problems, because other people's problems be getting all up in your way. So other people's problems seems to be the primary source of the abuse that's coming from your dreams. It's the reason these people are being cruel, treating you with unkindness, humiliation. This is only going to come from a person who is damaged, obviously has problems, and they only know how to give problems. These may be people that you are being called to work with, but maybe not. But maybe they are. What is your line of work? And scrap that, where is your mind and heart called as a person? What is it that you know you are inclined to do, have a natural skill set for, or just tend to know a lot of things about this specific thing or field? You may already be meeting a need that people have, but you're not doing it in a way that is profiting you. And that could be monetarily, but it could also be emotionally and energetically. Everything is an energy exchange. Even this video is an energy exchange. I just knocked my wall. So no matter where these people go or how they get there, an annoying, problematic person shows up, creates a problem. What is a problem? It's a delay, it's an interruption, and it's something that has to be fixed. So again, with the layering. Something that happens here when no matter what we do, we're constantly met with blocks is we feel defeated, we're exhausted, we are tired, we're done. So these feelings, I'm tired, I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore, are you serious? What is the point? Those messages are hounding you. So the answers to that are very buried. They're very subconscious. It could be lessons we were taught when we were younger. Maybe they don't match up to how you feel as an adult, but they are still impacting you because that part of you is still locked into that belief. Other people's problems. Why does this keep showing up for me? Mentally, we can start asking ourselves things like, did I do something to deserve this? Am I being punished? Right? Is there something wrong with me? These are all questions that we've all asked ourselves at some point. The question is, what does it mean to you when this happens? That could be anything from, well, it means nothing I do ever goes right. In which case, let's say that was the thought. That is the thought that needs healing and growth and attention. Specifically, it needs attention. Ask yourself that. What thoughts come up when you think about these constant blockages, these constant problems? We all have an inner dialogue, so pay closer attention to yours when you start asking about those specific moments. Also remember that our mind will try and create answers for something that we do not have answers to. And we might believe them, we might not. They might be true, they might not. We really don't have a way to know. But the human mind is ever active and constantly seeking out knowledge. And when it can't find knowledge, it will give itself knowledge. That's the power of imagination. But also question this. The reason that you are surrounded by these idiots, by these leeches, is because you hold something that they need. But you must determine what that is, because it's not your obligation to just give it away. It's absolutely not your obligation. But when you find that answer, you will find a whole new doorway has opened, because you will now have a whole new way to deal with these people in your life. In your dream, you are constantly moving towards something. There's some type of goal. So ask yourself, what is my goal? You can ask yourself for waking life as well as for dream life. You may find they're the same thing. You might find that you have different goals and different dreams based on different days. Once you figure out what is my goal, what is it? What is my goal? What is my goal? I have to ask myself the same thing all the time. Sometimes it's something simple like, I want to hug trees today. Boom, go outside, hug some trees. Sometimes it's more complex and it's like, well, I want to change the ever-growing water system that is a problem in the country. Once you've questioned your goals, go back to those skills. What are your skills? And ask your friends and family, because oftentimes what we think are our skills are not what other people think are our skills. So put a whole list together. This whole thing, it's going to be a major self-esteem booster, because you are going to see where your value lies depending on different people in your life and what you're really bringing into their experience. Go you. You are likely to continue having this dream until you truly get these answers answered. This will not happen overnight. This is a lifelong dream. This might be a lifelong quest, but I don't say that to make you feel hopeless. I say that to inspire you towards a new perspective when it comes to this nightmare, when it comes to facing these dreaded emotions. Now we have a mountain of bikes. Okay, what is a bike but a vehicle? It's got two wheels, and twos always deal with balance. And balance means there's an even distribution of something. So broken bikes means there's a disruption of balance. There's a disruption of movement. It's a vehicle that cannot vehicle. Now, how the bikes are broken, I don't know. But I would say that matters. Are the tires punctured, for example? Or are they ripped away entirely? Are the handlebars bent? Or has the bike been melted down? And there's an entire mountain. So a mountain is a huge, insurmountable thing that takes eons to form. So this mountain of bikes is a long-standing problem. This might be something that you've inherited through the generations. Maybe it's a problem that your family has long experienced. Or it could be something different, like the same type of people keep entering your life, and that is the insurmountable problem. It's whatever the same quality or personality trait is. But it's built up over a long period of time. It has created a blockage, and it's forced you to once again change your course. Now, in this case, the only way is through it, and that is so literal. This, to me, is saying the only way through your problems is through your problems, which is to face them directly. Man. It's so hard to share this with someone when I know I have to do the exact same thing. I also have to face my fears directly and dismantle them one by one. You're not alone here. You are not alone here. And I just want to reestablish that. Reaffirm. All right, so driven by anxiety, what drives you? We asked this in the beginning, we're going to ask this again. But specifically, what drives your fears? For example, I am an avoidant type, so I'm driven to avoid conflict at all costs, That doesn't always work, and when it doesn't work, well then, I've done all that I can do. But what it does mean is that constantly I will take the path with less obstacles. I will do whatever I can to avoid that problem. So that is a fear-based decision. My avoidant personality type is how I respond to my fears. Now I ask you, what are actions that you know you take because they're fear-based? You do this because you don't want that, or you went there so that something blank wouldn't happen. Think about what your fear-based actions are, because this dream is fear-based. You're filled with anxieties, you're surrounded by people kind of torturing you, obstacles are everywhere, you end up getting scratched, bloody, tattered. Let's talk about that. Steadily, throughout the dream, you are ever more attacked, vulnerable, and left in disrepair. So to me, that means there's a constant shredding of identity or personality, or the things that you like and identify with. People are constantly tearing them down, maybe actually humiliating you over it, trying to peel away at these layers. And there are layers, as we have declared. But remember, our appearance and what we put on and how we represent ourselves is just that. It's a representation. There's a part of you that has been so through the ringer, it just needs all the TLC in the world. That part of you needs conscious you to find them, nurture them, give yourself lots of TLC, a hot bubbly bath, antiseptic, soft warm clothes. Even if you just visualize it, that is a step in the right direction. And remember to look for patterns. One pattern that just keeps showing up in your dream is no matter where you go, you have to escape from there as well. So a constant need for escape and constant blockages. So look for those patterns in your waking life. What do you feel are your modern blockages? What do you feel are your modern inconveniences that force you to re-navigate? And ask yourself this often because they change. They could change daily or they can stay consistent, in which case you've really, really found an answer. And remember to ask yourself what it is that you must do. No matter how many times people have tried to stop you, no matter how many obstacles have come up in your path, what is that thing? Or those things that you must do, that you're compelled to do. That is a clue. That may even be the answer of the entire dream. Start fueling more energy into that and see what happens in your life and what changes start to unfold. Okay, let's wrap this up with the most important thing. The scream. This scream happens involuntarily while you are unconscious, But your body cannot separate the experience that you are physically having from the experience that your dream self is having. That's because you are truly experiencing these harrowing events every time you have this nightmare. So why do we scream? Why do people scream? A scream is often involuntary. Think of the phrase, a scream was ripped from her throat. Ripped as in the scream just has to come out. Our body is having a sudden release of these fear chemicals, of the anxieties and all of the energy building up in us. It has to come out some way. So if you're screaming in your sleep, that means these emotions are so intense that your physical body is in fight or flight mode while you're unconscious and is screaming for help because truly your body believes you are in danger. What does this mean? This means there's a part of you that has been in danger for a long time. It is not your fault. It is undetermined who we can truly blame for this. But modern waking you is safe. And modern waking you is tasked with retrieving this very lost, very afraid, and very in danger part of yourself that is still crying for help in a very literal and physical way. It doesn't matter that you don't remember the part of your dream that causes you to scream. It's the experience itself that causes the scream. A scream is a signal to anyone else in the immediate area that there is imminent danger. Really take that seriously, even if that part doesn't feel like it resonates. I still want you to take it with a grain of serious salt and go, but what if it did? I did not draw out any of the symbols. I just went for it today. We're just chatting. With all of this being said, you already know so much more about what this dream means to you. I do hope I was able to offer any type of fresh perspective on this journey that you are on, and that anything I can offer helps. There's a practice that I really enjoy. It is time consuming. Do this when you can't get this nightmare out of your head, okay? You write down your dream as though it's happening in first person, the way that you did when you sent it to me. Then you write down the dream again from the perspective of everything happening to you in the dream. That means you write as the group of idiots and imbeciles who are draining you of energy. I am a group of reckless adults. All I want is the attention of that kid over there. If I can keep that kid's attention, maybe I won't feel my consuming pain. I am a mountain of bikes. I am a lonely reminder of all the riders who tried to get past me. I am trying to stop any riders from going past because it's too dangerous. And so on and so on and so forth. I'm using my imagination. Use yours. Use your intuition. Try writing with your other hand if you can. All of these things will prompt the intuition to really give answers. Because again, ultimately, only you know what this dream means. And I thank you so much for trusting me with it and allowing me to share it with other people, especially other people who may have similar recurring dreams. You already know a lot of this comes from the circumstances you were in, especially when we're kids and we feel so powerless as to who was watching us at the time and what they were up to when they were watching us, if they were even watching us at all. Explore who's still in your life versus who you were able to move away from. And as you do this, notice how your nightmare changes or doesn't change if things get added on. That's also an interesting addition. And please do come back if you experience any changes or progress that you want to share. We would love to hear it. Nightmares are very intimate. Discussing fears are very intimate. So again, let me say thank you so much, Colleen, for writing to me. Thank you for trusting us with these symbols and for being willing to do the homework. I also recommend you check out 2 videos both by Teal Swan, who takes you through the journey that I was just discussing about. I will put those links down below. I hope you'll join me again sometime, and I'll see everyone else next time. Thank you so much for coming out to Dreamtime with Danielle and guests.